Hey, it's Debbie, and I wanted to share my current rabbit hole I'm going down. There's another one every week. And as I'm on a mission to improve how we age by looking at what goes wrong as we get older, things change. And if we don't do anything about it, what is the outcome? I observe people aging as my family, my parents, their friends and looking at what happens in our 70s and 80s, 90s, and reading about metabolism. As I do PNOE metabolism testing at rest and during exercise, I'm identifying if your metabolism is slower than it should be at rest based on what we collect in our tests, but also comparing that data to your age, gender, height, weight, what's normal for your age. Like, reminds me of blood chemistry panel. Normal, bad word. We want to be optimal. So when your doctor says, yeah, everything's normal, you should go, ooh, that's bad. I want to be optimal. Normal, bad news. So when we're doing metabolism testing, I'm looking at, are you burning fat, say 70% fat at rest, and you're burning 30% carbohydrates at rest, or are you burning 50-50 fuel? So we're identifying early on if you are metabolically unhealthy. Correlate that data with your blood chemistry panel. And ideally, if you can spend more money, we go into a stool test for your microbiome, your gut health. We look at food sensitivities, food zoomers. We can look at leaky gut markers. We can look at organic acids and hormones in a Dutch test. So there's a lot you can do, but most of us are on a budget. We can't spend all that money. So I look at just a comprehensive blood panel you can get through Ulta Labs and save money there. And then we can look at the data. Now, today I'm sharing my experiment blood blood flow restricted bands. So sharing my screen. I don't know if you've used blood flow restricted band. I've had a BStrong band for a couple of years, and to be honest, I have not been using it very often. And it's just a lot of work. I do have clients that use it. She had a knee replacement. She's using it all of her workouts. And someone else has had a knee injury and they're using it. So I am going to do a podcast with BFR band experts, the son of the founder of BStrong. We're going to dive into the science behind it. I put some notes into a blog post you can look at and really looking at understanding how we can improve our metabolism at rest and during exercise. When I do knowing metabolism testing, I'm also looking at not just fat to carb burn, not just VO2 max, but oxygen, carbon dioxide intake, your breathing analysis, all this. We get a big, huge report, right? I've gone through that in other videos. Now, what if we do a treadmill test using PNOE and put BFR bands on? That's what we did yesterday. We're doing another test tomorrow and another one on Monday. Test and not guess if what you're doing is working or not. So I want to understand the mechanism of action, how blood flow restriction works. What do we predict will happen in a metabolism test during, so we're doing a treadmill test walking, someone that doesn't run, increasing the incline on the treadmill 2% every 3 minutes. It's not a VO2 max test. We're just going until the RQ value gets to be about 0.91 or higher. We just want to identify some markers as your zone 1 and zone 2. But if we do blood flow restricted bands, we could do a VO2 max test and identify if there's changes based on this. Because if you go into the strong bands, and of course, remember, ask me for a discount pack. This individual packet is $479. I think I have a 20% off coupon if you want to get one. You put them on your arms, put them on your legs. Make sure you look at the pictures right because I was not putting it high enough. The arms, you can do your strength workouts. You can go outside and do different workouts. And it's in a nice little case. You can put on your upper arm, not the middle, and then your thighs. So the thigh one, let's see if there's a picture in this slide here. So you could go running, or maybe you're hiking, going upstairs. So what I'm researching is, does this make a difference on your cardiovascular health if we add in BFR bands into a training program, right? So what can we stack together? I'm always looking at how can we get more out of our workouts. Now, we're also testing this product called, I think it's Avir. I'm saying it wrong, but it's a AMPK supplement, and it's supposed to activate your body's metabolic master switch to help burn fat for greater energy and vitality. And it's a liposomal delivery, which I prefer, and it has all these ingredients in to their product. So I'm saying, okay, does it make a difference? So if we take one of these packs before, 20 minutes before the workout, the resting metabolism test, and before their treadmill test, what happens? And if they're taking this daily, is one packet enough? I think two is recommended dose, because we always want to look at what are the ingredients, what are the claims, and what is the minimal effective dose to cause this benefit. So AMPK. And I also look at always the supplement ingredients. So look at the bottom is monk fruit concentrate, non-GMO, sunflower lecithin, stevia leaf extract, glycerin, potassium sorbate. So I always look at the other ingredients in the bottom. Make sure you look at that, because I don't like sweeteners as monk fruit. I don't like the word natural flavors. So I'm always curious, okay, what does that even mean? That could be chemicals and maybe 1% squeeze of lemon or something. Now, this is what I do when I go to Expo West in March in Anaheim. I investigate products and see what is actually something I'd recommend and then what I would use. So, anyways, this is something I'm looking at. What are the ingredients? What are all these, the purpose of everything? So there's a lot in here. There's also other companies, it's Quicksilver. I was like, their products, they have AMPK charge. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what do they use in their product? And what are their ingredients and what are their claims? So I always look at researching different products. The point is, we're trying to see how we can improve our AMPK activation. And this explains on Quicksilver, their program, BioAge Elevate Protocol, helps takes mitochondria energy levels to new heights. Look at your age, improve resiliency, revitalize mitochondria, optimize metabolism through AMPK activation, so nourishing your cells, membranes, foundation of nutrients. So this is what I'm doing. If you say this, now how can we test if it's working? Super cool. Guess who owns PNOE Metabolism Testing? So I can look at a lab test and see if we're doing the right things, if they're helping, these products are helping. So again, we want to look at milk thistle, that's good for liver, resveratrol, berberine, that has many benefits, cinnamon bark oil, and then look at the other product. What do they have in their product? Turmeric, curcumin with certain caffeine from green tea, so don't take this later in the day, moringa, leaf powder, berberine, resveratrol. So you need to research or at least read the full label and ingredients. And then like I'm testing, all right, if this is to help improve how I age, we can look at the claims and then let's test it on labs or metabolism testing. This says through activation AMPK and autophagy, your body may begin to shed toxins, excess body fat, fat stores store toxins. So make sure you do a binder and tracking body composition. It also says you will have increased energy. You might have increased hydration because cellular detox, mobilizing fat stores, increased hydration, changes in bowel. So we want to look at all of this. And so before I do a program as this, I look at the information, look at a protocol, and if it's right for you instead of you're spending all this money. Now you can go to my full script link and see what products are on there. You could say I was looking at lip gloss, but you can get my link. I can share it with you, and you can see the catalog in on Fullscript has everything. So I can even look up Quicksilver, and I was just finding that there's lip gloss on there. So I can send you my link, and you get a 20% discount on all these amazing products. 20,000 products are on here. Even Paleo Valley, or not Paleo Valley, Perfect Aminos is on here. So what we want to do is look at not out supplementing poor lifestyle habits and figuring out what you need. So the point is of this video today is look at, all right, there's different products, different ingredients. What do I need? So if we look at what is my metabolism now, what do I need to improve? Mitochondria are pretty fascinating, and really looking at the role of the mitochondria in the whole body, but specifically when I test, we're looking at the muscle health and mitochondria. And you can read all my notes. I don't write this, these are from online, but AMPK versus mTOR and the connection of our mitochondria and how AMPK is often called the master metabolic switch. AMPK helps maintain energy balance and direct how the body produces and uses ATP when activated. So what I'm doing is putting this to work. Can I increase my fat metabolism? Now, remember, I keep saying when I do PNOE metabolism testing, say on a treadmill or bike, your active metabolism test, we call it, that protocol is going to identify your fat to carb burning, your 5 different training zones, your VO2 peak, your peak heart rate, if we do that test. Now, if I want to identify my peak fat burning zone, we might go a little bit slower and just go to below your VO2 max peak and not go as high. We're just trying to see what happens. What I'm doing is saying, if you do some supplement beforehand, is there a difference? And even if you want to experiment with different fueling strategies, what if I take this pre-workout? Does this improve my metabolism? So we're seeing, do I improve how much fat I use for fuel during exercise and at rest? mTOR is the other side, to increase how many calories we're burning at rest. So a couple different things I'm looking at testing. Do you need more AMPK stimulation or do you need more mTOR? It's that Goldilocks effect. So I've done some maybe possibly boring videos and podcasts going through this information, but if you want to read all the notes I put together in my blog, it is on my website, debbiepotts.net. Looking at the why do you need to worry about mitochondrial health? Why do you need to activate AMPK? How do you do that? HIIT training, what is HIIT training for you is totally dependent on your zones that we identify and where we test you. Endurance exercise, that zone 1, zone 2, naturally activate AMPK. We've heard of AMPK when it started with the world of increasing our fasting windows and doing different fasting strategies. And looking at low carb, keto, or target carbohydrate cycling to enhance metabolic flexibility, polyphenol rich foods, which are in these ingredients. I just showed you 2 products, have the berberine, resveratrol, quercetin, that mimic AMPK activation and improve mitochondrial health. So that's why we're testing the ingredients, taking this before workout, or maybe we try this AMPK charge. Let's see if that does anything different. I'm really looking at how does it work to improve my mitochondria function. So Quicksilver has an NAD platinum, AMPK charge, ultravitamin, and membrane. So you can take all this stuff if you want to dive deep into a protocol, which you can find all this on my full script. Okay, so goal to improve how we age. AMPK activation, but we still need mTOR. Sticking with the AMPK side, berberine metformin is what doctors give. We want to look at more natural ways, and that's going to be berberine, alpha lipoic acid, magnesium, CoQ10, PQQ. These all enhance mitochondria function. Now, cold and hot cold exposure we talked about, and then looking at the Goldilocks effect. Not too much, not too little. So too much AMPK activation, too much fasting, too much calorie restriction, too much endurance exercise. It's that teeter-totter. And suppress mTOR, leading to muscle loss, impaired recovery, and reduced strength. So I think this is really important to pay attention to. Are you doing too much of everything? Is that too little, too much? Is that right amount for you? So excessive mTOR, on the other side, can too much constant high protein intake, too much eating all the time, that you may have lack of fasting window. So that's why we want to look at a 12-hour to 14-hour overnight fast, that we don't want to promote age-related issues as inflammation and reduced cellular repair, oxidative stress. So for optimal aging and performance, strategic balance is the key. Cycling between AMPK, mTOR, back and forth, activation through fasting and feeding, endurance and strength training, strategic supplementation, both support metabolic efficiency and muscle preservation. So when I do PNOE metabolism testing, the resting task I can identify if your metabolism is too slow, that would be more mTOR. You need more protein. You need probably more strength training focus of your workouts. And then if we need the balance of the AMPK, we want to look at what is your zone 2? What is your zone 1? What's your interval training look like? Are you doing intervals? Or are you just doing tempo workouts? So we need to figure out what's right for you, what you like to do as well. Now, how does AMPK influence fast metabolism? So we go into that in my long sciencey, maybe boring for some of you, podcast on the audio channel. But how to activate, we want to look at, again, nutrition we talked about, supplements, hot, cold, and how do we activate enough AMPK to not create imbalance. So it's balancing in with that strength training and the protein. And how does it all work? So that's all into this blog summary. But what I want to get into, women, we want to make sure we're not doing too much fasting. If you're younger, you have higher estrogen that naturally supports fat oxidation and insulin sensitivity. But as we're getting older, we're lowering that hormones and we're not getting that fat oxidation, which is why I think people should test their metabolism and see how much fat carbs you're burning at rest. Then day to day, you can use a lumen and learn more that way. Now, insulin sensitivity, I like people to get their insulin tested. You can, again, Ulta Labs is what we're looking at as an option to test. And they should have a pop-up, come on here, 20% off, but you can save 20% on these labs. Now, going back to the point, all the information on here for women versus men, you can learn more on the website activation. Now, blood flow restriction bands, how do you tie that in with AMPK, or do we need more mTOR? That's what we're testing out. So mTOR is lifting weights. Is that what happens when we put these blood flow restricted bands on? Okay, so what is the metabolic stress? Hypoxia. So blood flow restricted bands reduce oxygen availability in the working muscles, mimicking high intensity resistance training, even with light loads. Fast twitch muscle fiber. The low oxygen environment forces earlier activation of type 2 muscles responsible for strength and power. Increased growth hormone, 290 times resting levels post BFR exercise, accelerating muscle repair and hypertrophy. So we want to get stronger. So what's going to happen when we do this on a treadmill test? So that's strength and muscle benefits, but what about the cardiovascular? So if we're using BFR bands, not just lifting weights, but if we ride the stationary bike, if we do the rowing machine, if we run on the treadmill, or maybe you go outside, it says there's a 2 to 4% increase in VO2 max after 3 weeks of using blood flow restricted bands. And this was in walking training on this from the website, BStrong. Now, it suggests BFR bands can enhance aerobic activity or capacity and endurance. How does this work? Well, enhance capillary growth and blood flow. Having the low oxygen state stimulates angiogenesis. This increases the capillary density for improved oxygen delivery. BFR forces the heart to work more efficiently in increasing the stroke volume and oxygen utilization over time. And this is what we can test with the PNOE metabolism test. Does this really happen? BFR triggers mitochondria adaptations, leading to improved endurance performance and energy production. So I like to understand, okay, well, how does that work? How is that happening? How does the blood flow restrictor bands trigger mitochondria adaptation? So we want to learn and then see if it works. So we're going to be testing this in PNOE tests, doing 3 different tests. So takeaways: amplifies the muscle growth and strength at lower loads, making it joint-friendly training method. Blood flow restrictor bands also enhances VO2 max and endurance performance, even with low-intensity activities as walking. Boosts growth hormones, accelerates recovery, fat loss, and muscle repair. Ideal for athletes, rehab patients, aging populations to maintain or improve fitness with minimal joint strain. So if you want to implement this workout program, this product, let me know and I'll get you that link to order it. But let's test on my PNOE metabolism testing. We're doing, again, it's a 20-minute, 21-minute test we're doing. But see if it does do this. Can improve VO2 max, capillary density, VO2, or mitochondrial efficiency. So what are some protocols? This is what came up. Walking or cycling, say you're doing 15, 30-minute session, 30 to 50% of your VO2 max, bands placed on upper thighs. If you're doing rowing, waterproof bands, you can do swimming. I haven't tried that. Should try that. Low intensity steady state is LISS. That's bottom of zone 1, working at your peak fat max. Then interval training, short bursts. So say 30-second sprints and then 2-minute recovery or more for some people. Now, how does that work? Increases oxygen delivery to the muscles, improving efficiency because we're helping grow more capillaries, so more blood flow to the muscles. Mitochondrial function, force the body to adapt to blood flow restriction, improve cardiac efficiency. So you want to know why? I just want to know why. As I am living here now in San Diego, why does the moon look like that? Why is the tide so high and so low? How did the beach change so much? It's always curiosity as I get older. The biggest thing of BFR bands I've used them for is injuries and post surgeries without high impact. So interesting, if we can use this on for runners instead of high impact hill sprint, use a treadmill walk 3 to 4 miles an hour, 20 minutes can elicit similar oxygen utilization vascular adaptations instead of a hill impact sprint. So that's what we did yesterday. We did the treadmill at 3.7 miles an hour, 2% incline. We got all the way up to 14% incline at the end of the 20-minute test. And I asked heart rate, RPE, perceived exertion, and then took the RER, the respiratory exchange ratio marker each 3 minutes. So that's what we're doing. I'll show you some videos on the YouTube channel. But what I was curious about, how does this improve, how does blood flow restrictive bands improve fat oxidation metabolism? Because as I started this video saying, okay, could we do some AMPK supplements? Maybe I take trim or Quicksilver. Maybe I'm doing something else. But what can I do to improve my metabolic health as I age? Is blood flow restrictive bands and getting the right ingredients nutritionally, nutritional therapy to help improve my metabolic health. So increased fat oxidation, we can measure this. As I said already, we can look at the respiratory exchange ratio is what I'm tracking every 3 minutes, getting the average in that last minute. Indicates percentage of your fat to carbohydrate being burned for energy. Blood flow restrictive training lowers RER over time, meaning a higher percentage of energy comes from fat oxidation. This is what we saw in the test yesterday. It was super fascinating. So fascinating. We're doing the same test again tomorrow to go, okay, was that really right? Did I have some errors in my oxygen carbon dioxide machine analysis? What was going on? Because it was really crazy. Now, mitochondria adaptations, increased mitochondria density improves fat oxidation capacity. So remember, the more mitochondria we have into each cell, into the muscles, speaking for here, muscles and mitochondria, improves fat oxidation. We have more mitochondria in there to help burn fat. If we have more oxygen, more capillaries, those little red things going into the muscles, getting more oxygen being delivered will help promote fat max. If the blood flow restrictive band forces the muscles to rely on aerobic pathways, enhancing fat metabolism. So this is what I thought opposite. I was thinking you're restricting blood flow. So wouldn't we be more lack of oxygen, but it forces the muscles to rely on aerobic pathways, oxygen. So hypoxia-induced metabolic shift. So I'm trying to get my head around this. That's why I'm doing a video. Helps me understand it. So let me know what you think. So lower RER, when I'm doing the test, 0.7 means higher fat. 1.0 carbohydrates. So we're looking at 0.85 is 50-50 fat to carbs. 0.91 is where we pretty much looking at, okay, that's the end of our test when we're doing this peak fat mass metabolic efficiency testing. So if we can do testing with the bands, without the bands, and then we're using the trim supplement to see if that makes a difference. We're doing that one Monday. So pre and post BFR bands should show increased fat utilization at submax intensities. That's what online said. Now, improve VO2 max cardiovascular efficiency. If we can measure your VO2 max, we're looking at the VT1, VT2, blood flow restrictive bands, they say, increases VO2 max by 2 to 4% in 3 weeks of low intensity walking. So freaking amazing. If this actually is going to be something we're going to test, it makes me want to use BFR bands instead of just sitting there on my shelf. So increased stroke volume, cardiac output. Blood flow restricted bands forces the heart to work harder under restricted blood flow, improving efficiency. Improved oxygen utilization in muscles, so more capillaries and mitochondria allow for better oxygen extraction. Over time, blood flow restricted bands improves our vascular function, lowering our blood pressure. So the PNOE testing, so we know if this is helping or not, kind of like getting your body fat tested. Am I getting leaner? Am I losing body fat, increasing lean body mass? PNOE testing, we can put this all together. So VO2 max increase with BFR training, and then look at the VT1, VT2 indicating improved oxygen efficiency. So the lower ventilatory thresholds. So we can see if we can boost your metabolism, measuring your RMR, PNOE test. We'll see during the resting test, 10 to 15 minutes. Can blood flow restrictive bands increase RMR due to higher muscle mass than normal? So hormonal response. So if you are lifting weights with BFR bands, and we should do this without lifting weights with BFR bands, but you're lifting regularly, do we see an increase in growth hormone, IGF? Growth hormone increases fat breakdown and metabolic rate. Increased muscle mass. So getting your body fat test and getting your lean body mass, really important. More muscle. This is why I'm saying if you have your metabolism slowing down with the RMR test and you need to speed it up, it's not doing cardio. Cardio is not the answer for slow metabolism. It's raising your lean body mass, more muscle, higher energy expenditure at rest. More efficient metabolism leads to better energy production and calorie burn. So improved oxygen utilization. So we can test your resting metabolic rate, see if you're increased metabolism. Are you burning more calories at rest? So that's what we're doing. We're going to see if there's better fat oxidation, changes in VO2 peak, VT1, VT2, increased RMR, more efficient oxygen use during the test. Do we have a lower markers for your breathing markers? And then structured training. What kind of program are you doing to see changes and retest? So here's sample that AI spit up, 3 to 5 sessions a week, 15, 30 minutes. Your workouts 40, 60%. So remember, we're testing, we don't need to use this percentage. We know your peak fat. So if you're training in what I tell you is your peak fat zone, bottom of zone 2, you're staying around there. And then you're putting them on your upper legs, walking, cycling, rowing, whatever you like to do. So you're doing that for, say, 20 minutes. And then we do your metabolism test and seeing if that increases. So we're doing them all in a row, but you should do it once a month and see if it's changing every 2 months for sure. And then strength, if you're focusing on the strength, do squats, step ups, split squats, interval sprints, and see what happens and see if that changes your VO2 max. And then another phase was doing high intensity metabolic work. doing some assault bike sprints, battle ropes with the BFR in your bands, kettlebell swings. Isn't this amazing? I got this from AI. My friend GPT knows what I'm looking for. It's freaking scary. So baseline training, here's a chart that my friend Chat sent me. So you can do, this is crazy. Isn't this weird that a computer just made this for me, knowing that I'd want this? Really trippy. So here's a chart that my friend made me. VO2 max, VT1, you want higher, improved fat utilization, higher, better endurance capacity. So this is what we're doing, guys. I just want to share with you, and then we can track it on here. So this is a blog. If you want to learn more about bands, how they work, we'll do a podcast coming up and get your labs tested. So if you want testing, come down to San Diego, North San Diego, Solana Beach at Peak Performance. I'm doing the treadmill testing. I'm eventually getting a bike. So let me know. Come on down and let's have a little fitness vacation. Talk soon. I'll pull the links in the show notes. Let me know your questions.